Welcome back. Now is the time to get a jump start on spring.
You can start your garden right now, growing your garden from seeds, but there are some common pitfalls to avoid, and you know who knows those. Garden Guy Del Kay is here to show us how it works. Okay, we're growing in the house.
Exactly, and a couple of things. Firstly, growing from seed is kind of fun. It's rewarding. It's fun for all ages as well. So if the kids are climbing the walls, grandkids are climbing the walls, seeding is a great activity, especially at this time of year. Since we are so close to spring. Last year, I don't think there was any snow on the ground. This year, there's still snow on the ground. So somewhere around this time, we can start getting out into the gardens. The other thing is it's very economical to start from seed as well. And it's also kind of fine-tuning your green thumb as well, which is always kind of fun to do indoors. You mentioned some pitfalls, and there are a few that we want to take care of or make sure that you have success when you're seeding indoors. So let's take a look at some of those.
Okay.
Now, there's seeding indoors, and then there's what we call direct seeding right outside into your garden. So you really got to know kind of what you're planting and what you want to achieve, and that will help guide you as far as what to direct seed and what to plant indoors.
Okay.
So things like peas, sunflowers, anything like super quick, that's all direct seeded into the garden. You don't really have to start them ahead of time.
Okay.
Things that take a little bit longer to germinate or take longer to grow, they're the things that we want to start indoors because we are, Minnesota does have that shorter season. So there's a few ways that you can determine, in fact, what you should be starting when. And most of it, I'm just going to hold this up here just nice and still for a second. Most of that information is right on the seed packet itself, right on the front there. I'll turn it around a little bit. It says days to maturity right on the top there.
Yep.
And that's a good indication of when to start backing up your calendar. On the back of the seed packet, it has a lot of great information. It'll even tell you when to actually start it in, that you actually are going to start this pumpkin indoors. It'll give you the days, how many days to germinate, and then how many days to maturity and when to pop them outside.
And you need like a setup like this.
A setup basically like this to start indoors. The other important thing is to note is that when taking little plants outdoors, you want to do that about mid-May. That's your other thing you have to factor into your calendar of when to start, because you don't want to obviously plant seeds like tomorrow. It's too cold. Even middle of April can be a little iffy. Middle of May, usually we have the green light. That's the last, what we call the last frost-free date in Minnesota to get all those little seedlings outdoors. So in your seed, I've got a whole bunch of an array of things in my little seed containers here. If you're saving seeds, that's great too. Things that you could start right now because they actually do like the cooler season would be lettuce, broccoli, any of those cool season crops that like a little bit of warmer days, cooler nights. So I'll start lettuce and spinach at this time. I kind of do this with my fingers on the weather outdoors. And if worse comes to worse, you can't get them outdoors, by crikey, you can usually harvest them right out of the seed tray, indoors. Lettuce.
So speaking of fingers crossed, I've always kind of wondered this. Let's say whether it be lettuce or whatever, peas. I mean, what's the success rate here? Like if you have 20 seeds in here in a packet, how many actually come to? Should you?
So if you do everything right, your germ rate should be about 90%.
Okay.
If you were to buy seeds, and this is the same for grass seed as well, any type of seed. If you were to use last year's seed, that percentage actually drops quite a bit, maybe down to 85.
Okay.
If you're using seeds that are a couple of years old, the germination rate drops again. So
that's maybe my
usually
problem.
buy fresh seeds.
Old stuff. Is that what it is? Okay, Shane.
Could be
Keep
old
telling
stuff.
yourself that.
The other one is old soil too, and also the right kind of soil.
That too.
And I have some different types of soils, some specialty soils, and the finest one, there's a cactus mix, there's a bonsai mix, there's regular potting soil, but this particular one right here is super fine, and that's what we call a seeding mix. That's kind of what you had your hands on, Kelly. And that one there is really what you want to use, and don't use old soil, don't use soil from the ground outdoors, and it's just better to use something that's sterile, clean. That way your seed will germinate. So seeding soil is the one that you want. It's super fine. Usually has seeding soil right on the bag. Bob's your uncle, you've got the right thing there. And then that goes into a seeding, some sort of a seeding vessel. It's usually a shallow dish. You don't want a shallow tray. You don't want to have too much depth to the soil. That starts to cause watering issues. So it'll always be in a little flat like this. I got my seed mix set up right in here, and that's what I'm going to seed into. The other one is like the little Jiffy cell packs. You'll see these quite readily available. They're actually like a little flat pancake.
Okay.
And then you pop them in some warm water and they absorb, they swell out into something that looks a little bit like that. And you can direct seed into that as well.
That looks easy.
You know,
Is it?
It's easy, okay? So the right seed,
clean?
knowing when to do it, the right soil, clean, good potting soil. Okay, the better the soil, the greener the thumbs.
Okay, I like that.
Just like your shirt.
What-
The better the soil, the greener the thumbs, and Bob's your uncle. So we're taking care of that. The other one, the big mistake that folks will do is actually put their seeding tray against the window. Most veggies and most things you're starting early, like people will start banging away at tomatoes and peppers and all that kind of good stuff. And you can really find some really cool different varieties when you're shopping from seed. You oftentimes get a lot more variety than what you would when you find little starter plants at your local garden shop. So that's another reason why people will start seeds, or it's fun to start seeds. Not too close to the window. You are getting light there, but they start to bend. There's usually not enough of it. Usually some auxiliary light for your warmer season crops is beneficial. That overhead light rather than side light is really what seeds need. And then the other thing that's really important with seeding is to have warm soil. Usually seeds need something to break the seed coat. Some specialized plants actually need like soaking in water, or they need like a bushfire. They need that sudden burst of heat to germinate. A lot of seeds just need warmth and moisture to crack that seed coat and send out that first little radicle, that first shoot.
So this is like that heating pad that you talked about last week?
Exactly. When we talked
so you
about
put that
starting
underneath-
flowers, that raises the soil temperature, makes a nice warm bed. You know, I like to crawl into a nice warm bed. It's kind of seeds kind of like to do the same thing.
Can you, I mean, like if you have a setup like this, can you put a bunch of different things next to each other, or do you need to have them, you know, this is the lettuce, this is the tomatoes,
No, you
okay.
can start to roam. You can
Okay.
just start to seed. You don't want to mix different plants in the same little cell, but you do want to put maybe 2 to 3 seeds of the same variety right inside there. But you could easily do broccoli here, cauliflower here, over here you do your tomatoes and peppers. That's just fine.
Okay, I think we can do this. Shane?
It's
Yeah?
fun.
I'm going to buy the ones that are already started.
Oh,
It's so
you
it's
can
so
do
much
it.
fun.
It's way
like
cheaper,
you-
too, to do
it's
it like
when-
this.
That's true.
You
Way
achieve
cheaper.
something. You know, it's just like you gave birth to these little babies. It's just
That's
like
a little different.
That's like really
a little
really
bit more
cool.
work.
I birthed these tomatoes. Okay, as always, thank you.
What's your uncle's name?
Bob.
No, the real.
No, I'm German. You know, I got one of those long names. That's why
Yeah.
the K thing is there. Kurt.
That K thing.
Okay, thank
Kurt's
you.
your uncle. Still ahead.